Osawatomie, the city of history and a promise. Continuing on the theme of promise, I wanted to talk to this next person because they are the ones making it happen right now. The current mayor, Nick Hampson. So I'm excited to see what he's got. Cannot hear me yet. I love the Zoom connection time. It takes forever and it's wonderful. We'll get there.
You there?
Yeah, I'm there, Mayor. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm doing really good. I can hear you great. Can you hear me just fine?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be I'm excited because I've wanted to pick your brain a little bit, and I've had your daughter in my class last year, and she's of course told all sorts of stories. And I've been doing this series of podcasts, web series or whatever, trying to get to know the character of Osawatomie, and
Right.
who else to talk to other than the mayor, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of your duties is being a member of the community, and so I wanted to pick your brain a little bit and see what kind of things you're working on, and where you think this town's headed. So before I go too far, though, I don't know you. You're people obviously know you. You're elected as mayor, but were you born here?
I was. Well, I was born in Olathe at the hospital, but yes, I've lived here my entire life. I did about a year and a half of college up at Highland Community College, played some football.
There you go.
When that was over, I came home and went to work. So
it was the Scotties, wasn't it?
Yep, the Scotties. Yep.
Yeah, I spent a year in Dodge City back in 2003, and I remember driving all the way to Highland. That was awesome. So what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in 98.
Okay.
Yep. Family's been around here. I believe Maddie will be a fourth generation graduate of Osawatomie. My grandfather on my mom's side, Watson, I believe he was the first. And then, of course, both my parents graduated. Dad graduated in 76, mom in 79. And then got two siblings, one older, one younger. Melissa, she graduated in 96. Then I was 98, and my little sister Adrian was 03.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely been around here. I've been here my whole life.
Yeah, and I caught you at the Casey's by the Highway, working. You work for Hall's Rock Yard.
Yes, I do. Work for Shane and Travis Hall. We've got the Rock Yard down here on 6th Street, and then we do excavation, gravel, driveways, a little bit about anything, Matter of fact, Shane, before I forget, he wanted me to tell you hi. Say, I hadn't talked to you,
that's great.
A little bit. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I hope you tell him hi, and
I will.
I appreciate him. I've had his daughter in my class for the last 4 years. She's just a fantastic kid.
Yeah, very good kid. So.
Yeah, you guys are doing something right. Both your kids are fantastic, and I appreciate having them in class. I really do. So did your wife come from Osawatomie as well?
Yes. Well, she moved here in the 8th grade. She actually graduated in 94. So she's 4 years older than I am.
Yes, you went for the older girls.
Yeah,
Good for you, man.
Right. Yeah, she actually graduated with Shane in 94.
Okay.
And I believe it was 8th grade that she moved here. So
okay.
Yeah, her family come out from around Holcomb, Kansas. So and Hayes and that area. So they were from Western Kansas.
Yep. So what was it that made you say, I want to try and run for mayor?
I was on council. I think I got on council at about 2011. Okay. I was 31. I had been working in Kansas City as an electrician for Teague Electric. I'd worked for them for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then the job out at Life Care opened up as the maintenance director, whatever. So, with having Maddie was pretty young. She's about 4 or 5 years old. And I really wanted to get home or be around a little more.
Sure.
I was home every night up there, but you were, by the time drive time and all that, you're coming in the evening and leaving before everybody gets up. So, it's kind of nice to get home. So I came home, to work here in Osawatomie. That would have been, like I said, that in 2010.
Yeah.
And it's always been home, and you see things, you think, man, I'd like to be involved. I'd like to help, I think you feel like you want to make a difference, or, you want to help out. And if you've got complaints, I think the best way to do it is to get involved and try and help. So I got on council then, like I said, so that was about 10 years that I was on council, and then decided to try and run for mayor,
There you go. I love that you are unapologetically yourself. That's what I get from you, is that you are you, and you're just gonna do the best you can being yourself. And I absolutely love that. That's the impression I get. Now, this is the longest we've ever had a chance to really talk. So that's
right.
But I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate that spirit about you. So what would be a typical problem that you're trying to solve as mayor? Like not like political fights or anything like that, but like what kind of problems are you facing as mayor, and what kind of solutions are you trying to come up with?
I think most problems that come up is really just lack of information. We see something on Facebook, or we see something, that we don't like, and everybody's got the answer, but nobody's really gotten involved. And I think that's really kind of like I said earlier, I'm no different. I see something pop up and I think, oh, I can fix that, or I know what's going on. But until you really get all the information, you don't know. And I think as the mayor, I feel like I get some calls and I get some emails and stuff, and people are upset, and it's like, oh, that's not really what happened, and most folks around here, I think, when they figure out, or you talk to them, and hey, I don't have all the answers. I can promise you that,
right.
And I try and not act like I do, like if I got to ask somebody, I got to ask somebody just like anybody else,
Right.
So. And I laugh, and people will tell me something, and I'll tell them, sometimes I feel like I'm the last one to find out a lot of things, So, I would say is around here, the mayor that, we have city managers, we have city staff that handle the day-to-day problems and the easy things, or not, I shouldn't say easy, they're not easy, but the things that they fix on a day-to-day basis,
So they're the ones that are tearing up Brown right now.
Yeah. Okay. I laugh about Brown. I think I was against that the whole time, and that's politics, or that's life, and you can't win them all,
Right.
But I've always said, we got Maine and we got Pacific, and now we're going to do Brown right in the middle, and let's spread these things out. But I think right now, I'm hoping people are noticing that we're trying, man.
We're doing, yeah.
We've got some stuff out on the west end of town that's getting finished up. Brown's getting torn up. It'll be nice when it's done. And when I say that I was kind of against Brown, it needed it. By all means, it was. But you could throw a rock in any direction and find a street that needs replaced around here. So, just kind of wanting to spread them out. And with 6th Street, I was, we really thought it would be done this year. We was going to try and work on it this year. And then, you just get constraints on bids and engineering and everything, and it just, it should bid out towards the end of the year, but you don't want to start that project in November. No. So it's going to be an 11-month project. It's going to be a nightmare, to be honest with you. It's your main thoroughfare. I think about for our business down there, we got to be able to get big trucks in and out and all of that. It's going to be a pain, but I think with anything, I had a boss tell me one time, change sucks, or, change is good, transition sucks, So you're doing it. it's going to be a pain, but at the end of the day, it has to happen.
Oh, I love that.
We
Change
have to.
good, transition sucks. I absolutely love that because
Right.
that's right now, that's what we're dealing with here at the high school.
Right.
We are going through it.
Mhm.
This principle, that principle, this principle, that principle, there's all sorts of stuff that we're going through the changes. I just talked to the new football coach this morning, and we talked a little bit about how being uncomfortable is good. And I love the way you say it, because you're right. Change is good. However, the transition part can be
Right.
it can be a little uncomfortable and make it difficult. But I mean, we need it to grow. I mean, we honestly we need it to grow.
Right. Anything easy is probably not, going to change much. I mean, it's not. So no, and so I think that's where we're at as a city right now. And I know some of the history. I'll be honest, I don't know it all. I mean, you hear what you hear your entire life growing up, and with businesses in and out. The railroad was here. I believe I read in the museum one time that employed like 6,600 people.
Yeah.
And you look at, that's true, and there's 4,400 here in Osawatomie now. I mean, think about what Osawatomie used to be.
Yeah, everybody was affected by it. But see, this this is what I'm catching on to. I'm catching this idea that there's this underlying tone of I don't know, like perseverance and persistence. I think persistence might be the best word for it, because this town gets nailed with the 51 flood, the railroad takes off, the 07 flood. This town's been hit by nature, by corporate America, whatever it might be, but it's still going. And I think this might be due to the people that first kind of came here with the attitude of, we're coming here and we're going to stick to it. And there's just kind of this persistence that's been going on. And I love to see that, you're carrying that torch now of, we got to get through it. It'll be better once we do, but we're going to get through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how much you know about city managers and different stuff,
Nothing.
Okay. So the one we had, he just kind of switched to a consultant role, and we have we had a deputy city manager that's now stepping into the city manager role. And Mike Scanlon was the one that was the city manager. I think he started April of 2020, so he was here a little over 3 years. And I think for us on council, Mike was definitely, he thought a different way than what we do around here. I mean, I agree with you that, I think this community has always been a persevering community, and, we'll roll our sleeves up and get dirty. It doesn't, we'll come together, we'll work through problems, and we'll get there. But, I think what Mike has done in the last 2 or 3 years with at least us on council is like, hey, you guys, you have something here. You have a history here. You have a trail here. And you deserve to go after that kind of stuff. The amount of grants that we've received in the last 2 or 3 years is pretty impressive. And just being willing to go after things. Now, people ask, what do you think of the city manager? I said, well, I'll tell you 5 years after he's gone how that went. I mean, everything sounds great when you're in the middle of it, but
right.
You got to see what all comes through in it. And, I know later we might talk about that. One's the things that you've learned or done, that I seen your question earlier. And I think the biggest thing for me in government is like nothing happens fast.
Right.
At 31, I can tell you, in my mind, I thought, man, I'm going to come in here. I've got these ideas. We're going to change some things, and we're going to get some things go in the right direction. And it's like, well, you first got to do this, and then you got to approve it by that, and then it's got to go to the state. It's like, holy smokes, man. I know why I feel like we're in the spot we are in.
Right.
Complete, governmental deal. It's like, no wonder everything costs what it does to get anything done, because we got to spend 10 times, we have 10 meetings about meetings that we're going to have to get something done. It's like you get tired of having meetings about meetings. Let's just get to the problem and get it done. But with Mike, I think, he's at least opened our eyes to think, hey, let's go after that. It may work, it may not, but let's go after it and see if we can get it done.
I really like that spirit, because that's the spirit of this podcast, which has been, do it. You don't, the hardest part about doing this whole thing is hitting record, and so, I've talked to, so many people in the last 2 weeks, just putting this thing together while I have a little bit of summertime to get it done. And I like the things that I'm learning about this community and the things that I'm learning about this town. And, there's the slogan, the slogan is a city of history and promise. Right. And I really want to know what you think about that. But and in fact, you know what? I don't, because you've already mentioned it. There is now kind of what you're talking about. That's the promise is we're now getting to a point where the people that are here, I'm seeing people that are just taking steps. And as a math teacher, and I got to tie this into my math class, sometimes I deal with students who are too afraid to try a problem, knowing that there's a potential for failure. So they won't. And so, sometimes you have to wait out in the unknown. Sometimes you have to just take that first step. Sometimes you have to just try something. And a lot of the times, the worst thing that could happen is somebody just says, no. You very well could have just told me, no, I don't want to talk to you. And I would have been on my merry way. But had I not asked, we wouldn't have this opportunity to have this conversation. So, that's it. Just ask and see what's going to happen. Half the time it's just somebody telling you no, and you just move on to the next and keep plugging away.
Right.
I love it. I think that's where this town gets that promise from is people like you and having those family ties and knowing that you want to make it better.
Right. And I think that's the premises for all of us is like, look, man, I got 3 children. I got, Madison, she'll be a sophomore next year. And then Cletus, he'll be a 6th grader. And then I've got a 3-year-old, so, as long as you want to teach, you'll probably have one of my kids, coming through. So,
we'll get them all the way.
I laugh and think I really have no choice. We got to try and make this better. We got to try and make it right. And I've seen this community change over the years. When I was at Highland and playing ball, one of my buddies come back with me one weekend, and he was from Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, wow.
He was one of the running backs,
Oh, okay.
And we've been here like 30 minutes, and he's like, you have waved at every person we've passed, and it's like, I'm 18 years old. I'm like, yeah. He goes, there's no way everybody you've waved at. And I said, well, dude, I'll probably tell you their name and where they live, at that point. But over the years, I'd say there's a strong third of the people here in town I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've seen the town change. You mentioned the flood. That was a time. Now, I was not on council at the time. I was not a part of the government of any. Heck, I was 27 years old.
Right.
I wasn't worried about any of that at that point. Maddie was, she was born in October of 2007. We had actually bought this house we're in 3 days before it flooded, Dave.
No.
It took on water before we ever moved anything.
Oh, no.
But if you don't laugh about it, you just go nuts.
Right.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
So okay. So we moved here in my grandpa, my wife's grandpa died the day my son was born. And so, we missed out on that 4th generation photo, which kind of is really quite heartbreaking. And we moved into his house on 10th and Pacific. And, we were there, couldn't have been a year or 2. And we had to get our son up to the hospital at Children's Mercy and had an overnight stay with him at Children's Mercy. And when we came back that Saturday, the back door was wide open. Everything in our house had been rifled through. Somebody had gone through every drawer, every cabinet, everything, and just dumped everything in the middle. And, I was upset because we didn't get the people. But this is a small town, and word travels real fast. So we knew
Mhm.
who did it. I tried working with hand in hand with the police to try and get that all sorted out. And just for whatever reason, it all, fell through at that time. But I've noticed, where I live right there at 10th and Pacific, it's kind of a hobo highway, or it used to be.
Mhm.
It's not anymore. And
Mhm.
I want to know from your perspective and your vantage point, what over the last 2.5, 3 years has changed to kind of put this community back in a safer environment.
Uh, I mean, I think anybody that's on social media sees we're trying to be very active in with our police force. We have a police department right now that, you know, for lack of better terms, are gung ho, and they like their job, and they want to go do it.
Yeah,
We just have to be willing as a community and as council and everything to allow them to do that. Now, I mean, the frustration level with them, I'm sure is high. You go make this big bust, and you already know somebody's filling that spot, or
yeah,
somebody's working to fill that spot. But I think we have made improvements in the last 2 or 3 years, and
absolutely.
I credit them. I got to give credit to the public that, I can tell you on my block, there's been a couple places that have got kind of shut down.
Yeah,
And that comes from the neighbors. I mean, I know some of the phone calls that have happened, like, hey, do you know what's in your house? Do you know, because they're rental properties.
yeah,
And you get investors that want to buy a rental property, and then they don't think about it. As long as the check comes in, everything's good, right? Well, I
sure.
mean, I think as a city, we've worked on that. Like, we're going to put regulations on the rental properties. And when we did that, for inspections, for, in between tenants, you got to get it looked at. Everything's got to be up to code. Everything's, was the plan. Now, I can't quote to you that that whole folder of what that is, but what we did, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with Mike. I mean, he got a hold of the landlords. He said, look, I want you involved. You need to be a part of this if you're willing, because they're the regulations that are going to fall on you.
Right.
So they developed a group, and they made their own board, and then we worked with them and said, this is what we expect, and this is kind of what you want to do, and hashed it out.
Cool.
And so I think all of them things are going to make a difference. I think that there's obviously been this, I'm going to call it inflated home pricing, and it works both ways, like
Yeah.
that. Hey, everything's worth so much more than it was, 10 years ago, or not less than that. If you would talk to the Wrights, they were buying houses for 20 grand, fixing them up and getting a good price out of them. And now, Kurt, I bet he'd tell you I can't buy anything for less than 60 or 70,
Yeah.
So, but as you do that, as taxes go up, as things go up, it starts to cut down on, hey, you can't rent a place for $400 and $500. And so it's kind of a different feel for the people that are in there,
And there's a balance that you have to find with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a balance that you have to find with, uh, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing. So I could go on and on and on and on and on, but I feel like you're tapping into where is that balance.
Yeah.
Trying to zero in on what's the give and take until it meets where, the community's involved, the community is helping police itself, the police are involved, the police are policing it, and having I don't say symbiotic relationship might be the wrong word, but I mean, I to be honest with you, I have noticed a dramatic change in the last
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years. Thinking back from whenever, our house got broken into to where we're at now, I honestly, I feel a lot better about, where we are as a community. Feel better about raising my kids here, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. That's the big thing. Both my wife and I, first thing was, is this where we really want our kids to be raised, where somebody has been through all of our stuff?
Right.
Somebody somebody took grandpa's, army ring. Somebody took the flag that went on his casket, because whenever he fought in Korea bravely, has 2 Bronze Stars, the whole 9. And
Right.
he, the flag on his casket got taken. Like, that kind of stuff is, that's the part where it really, it hurt. But I love that we stuck with it, and we stayed here to kind of see where the change is happening, and how now we can start to be a little bit more a part of this community and build on that. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing as far as that your end goes.
Right. You talk quotes and different things. I can remember growing up, my dad would always tell me, trash breeds trash. Well, that works the other way too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're noticing as well. I mean, every house that gets a little fixed up, a little cleaner, a little nicer, well, then, the neighbor's going to say, hey, I better step my game up a little bit, and I think, but it works the other way too. If if the neighbor's piling everything up and doesn't care it's trashing it, well, then it's not such a big deal for the guy next to him. So,
right.
I feel really good in the direction that we're headed now. I need to really be an optimist with this, but I got to think through it. And I do. I think, if we pull off a half of the things that we're working on right now, I think this place will look different in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. I love it.
I don't know how much you know about what we're trying to get, a national park status here in Osawatomie. I mean, we're shooting for John Brown, National Historic Park. And we're trying to take all the steps we can to do that. And, there's few good things with that. I mean, if you get that, well, hey, now you get a federal budget for your town. Plus, look, history is history, and we have to preserve the history so that we know where we come from and what not only to do, but what not to do again. I mean, all history is what it is. It's past, it's gone. So we shouldn't try to erase any of our history. But we got to learn from it. And, right now we've got quite a few signatures from the state level and even Congress that are willing to look into having that done. You got a couple that are kind of hesitant on signing that to get that done. And, maybe this isn't a spot to mention their names, but
no.
If you want to call John Marshall and let him know you're for it, then go ahead. So,
that's not the purpose of this, but
right, but
it's what you're working on, right?
That's one of the big things we're working on right now. The streets are things that everybody sees, and that's not going to stop. We have to get through that. We have to do them kind of things. So, but that's something in the background that's going on that would change things. We've had some pretty good inquiries about some Northland projects, bring some businesses and stuff in. Them are always coming, but I do feel like right now there's been a couple that were more than just tire kickers.
Now, when you say Northland, you have to excuse my ignorance. When you say Northland, you're talking about where the state hospital's at?
Yes, up around the state hospital. The city or the state pretty well gave the city like 360 acres up around there.
Okay.
That we were supposed to get something done with, and they keep kind of extending it and allowing us to do it. And right now, should probably break ground late this year, early next year. We're putting the solar farm up there.
Hey, cool.
So we're getting a 5 megawatt solar farm up there that has like a 35-year life expectancy. We have the option to buy it, I think at any time, but for sure after like 8 years. Then will be decisions that the council will have to make at that time.
Yeah.
Or we get a pretty good rate on that power, and with businesses and the way things are going, I mean, everybody wants to say, hey, I'm green, right?
Right.
I'm green energy. Okay. So you can say that now if you want to put in a big manufacturing plant up in the Northland, you'll have green power. One thing Osawatomie has that a lot of communities don't is we do have all our own utilities. I mean, other than natural gas,
Hey, can I
So
say something? I want to say this. My lights flickered about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. My lights flickered and it was a little weird. And then I tried to turn on the dryer and the whole house went, oh, and then it came back on. So I was like, what's going on? And I credit my wife. She called the next morning. She called and said, hey, I think something's going on. And within 20 minutes of my wife calling, and now this will never happen anywhere, any other place in the world, but within 20 minutes, the crew came out, tested everything at our house at the meter box, checked the wires and the lines, and found that there was some sort of a dead something or other, and had it fixed. Not just like diagnosed, but fixed within 20 minutes. And I thought, super duper, those guys are awesome.
Right.
I told my mom lives in Texas, in Houston, in a suburb in Houston. She said, if that happened at our house, it'd be months before somebody come out and take a look at that. And I said, 20 minutes, Mom.
Right.
Done in 20 minutes.
Back online in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was great. Like
the guys, they do a great job.
Yeah, they do.
They do a great job, and we're fortunate to have all them utilities here. So within businesses, when you own the utilities, then you can, kind of lock in some rates. And honestly, that's what I noticed in this kind of go around with some of them are, always you got tax incentives, you got incentives to get them here. And talking with them, they're like, we're really more worried about what it's going to cost us to operate. And as I don't own that business, but I manage it. I'm the one in the books. I'm the one doing it. I mean, that is a big deal. You have to know what things cost you so you can make the right decision and what we should do or what we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And so by owning our utilities and being able to get them to them and control kind of how they work for them, then, I think that puts us up a notch or two. Now, a lot of these businesses will take a year to decide, so
that Willie?
Oh, that was, yeah, it was.
Willie is your ringtone.
Yeah. A little Amazing Grace, we all need it.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of grace. We need a lot of grace.
Yeah, we do.
So, yeah, that was it. So, that's kind of one of the other big things that we're trying to get going up there. And something like that, like I said, if either one of them things happened or, at one time we had about 4 different companies looking up there, and it's like, man, we just landed half of them, everything changes. Now, as a school teacher and working for the school district, we also got to keep in mind, like, what a strain that would put on you guys. Like, we've all got to be prepared to, one of them's talking about like 1,200 jobs, now you're not going to get all of them living here.
Right.
But, we've got to be willing and able to grow the parts of town that we need to, if something like that were to happen. But
it could, are you kidding? If we got 600 local jobs,
right,
man, oh man, that's the kind of promise that this town needs.
Right.
And I feel like I just get this sense in the last 2-3 months, even I'm getting this undercurrent of promise. I'm getting this undercurrent of promise being provided to this town. There's some hope and there's some excitement that's happening. I have a question for you because I am a math teacher.
Yeah.
And critical thinking is an extremely important part of teaching mathematics, right? How trying to help students think critically and become critical thinkers and problem solvers. What do you see out at the Rock Yard? What kind of critical thinking skills do you need working out at the Rock Yard?
And Dave, the term critical thinking is not something I use much. I think,
but you're solving problems.
Yes, I think of problem solving. I mean, when I think of the Rock Yard, Shane is like, his mind never shuts off. I mean, it just runs all the time.
Yeah.
And so, with doing corrective drainage type work and that type of stuff, I mean, you're trying to find the problem and you're trying to make an educated guess because water is a whole different beast, you know. I
Sure.
mean, and it didn't always do what you think it should do or what you want it to do. So watching that happen and being a part of thinking through them problems, um, it never stops. I can tell you that. And with any small business, especially in a town like Osawatomie, that like I said, we got 4,200 people. Maybe we've got, the economics and demographics of Osawatomie aren't at the top. They're towards the bottom. So every decision we make has to be thought through, planned. I'll be honest, I dread winter, not because we're not working, but because we're going to spend 40 hours a week going through everything we did. Did it make money? Did it not make money? Is that enough to sustain, and try and keep the price as low as we can to give our customers something. But in turn, that is our livelihood. We do have to make a dollar, we got to make some money. But, so the math and the problem solving come about December, just it's a beast, for a month or two. And so we do that's all day long, problem solving. And these kids got to know that. I don't care what you do in life. But kind of like you said earlier, you just got to be willing to dive in and work through it, figure it out, make a decision and stick to it.
Yeah.
And do everything you can to make it right. So,
it's hard to improve on something that you didn't do to begin with.
Right.
It's hard to fix a problem that, or to build on something that you haven't started building. Like that, like you have to have something there in order to fix it and in order to make it better, right? So I have to do these videos in order to look back and say, oh, I could have said that, or I could have done this, whatever it might be, So, you have to have an experience in order to improve on them. I think that's.
I think about decisions, that we've made as a council. Not all of them have panned out, but at the time, you took the information you had, the best information you had, and you did it. I feel like I've been fortunate on this council that I've had for 10 years. You hear horror stories where, oh, we had this one feuding with that one and this one feuding with that one. You know what, man? We haven't had that in a long time on council. I mean, we don't always agree. It's not always an 8-0 yay.
Yeah, right.
But at the end of the day, look, me and you can disagree, but that doesn't mean we have to not like each other and never speak again or work through the next problem, that comes at us. So, we've been really fortunate, I feel like, for several years on council that I've seen anyway. And maybe they would say something different about me. Heck, I don't know. But at least we can all work together and get through it, because we are, you need a board. You need a board of different folks. You don't, if all of us are exactly the same, man, we could go down the wrong path and get deep before we know it. So it's been good. I enjoy it. I figure I got a few more years that I enjoy it. There are days that you go, boy, I paid $20 to get on a ballot to hear this. I mean, yeah. So, but 90, 95, 97% of the days, man, I enjoy being the mayor, doing, trying to do the best I can do for the community.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask a personal question.
Yeah.
Your daughter, easily, as a freshman, carried the girls Powder Puff team to victory. Now, I've been announcing Powder Puff for 7 years, and I've never seen a freshman class win. But your daughter absolutely stole the show at last year's homecoming. Now, I've had several conversations with her, and I've watched her play basketball, and I am trying to get her out for the football team. Now, I want to make sure that we talk our way through this. Who is it that's not allowing her to play football? Because according to her, she's ready to put the pads on and go beat some people up and play linebacker.
Yeah, she thinks that until she got in there, I think. But I mean, I'll tell you what about her, Dave. She's the one I don't have to get on. I don't have to tell her to go work hard. I'm so proud of her. She does it all on her own.
Yeah.
Now we're here to help, but when they practice early morning practices at 5:30 or 6 or whenever, they do once a week or twice a week, or to go help out or to go to extra things, I don't have to get on her to go do that. She's already doing it.
I love
And even more than that, she loves volunteering. She loves helping. She goes to the food pantry almost weekly and helps out there. Pride, just anything she can do. Of course, we laugh and say it's just because she doesn't want to be at the house around us, But she kind of plays basketball like she should play football.
That's right. And I had to have a couple conversations with her after the first game I saw. I was like, now you can't foul out in the first 5 minutes. We need you for the whole 4 quarters, because she
Right.
What they call what's the nice word for it? Hustle.
Yeah.
She's awesome, man. I call her Mad Dog for a reason, because
Right. And we love it when you say that when she comes out. But I'll take some of the blame for that, Dave. I played my freshman year of basketball. That's the only year I played basketball, really, because I didn't know if I wanted to wrestle that year. I'd wrestled kids growing up, and man, I got to high school time. I don't know. We'll try basketball. I fouled out of every single game. I made 1 basket that entire year.
Oh no!
And if we played 20 games, and I had 100 fouls. So now, in my defense, my offensive line coach was our freshman basketball coach. So
okay,
it was one of them deals. But what I've tried to explain to her is, you're better than I was. Your team needed you. My team didn't need me out there to make points. Hell, I only made 1 bucket the entire year. So but no, she definitely is hustle and aggressive, and she loves competing.
And at first it was in jest, but then I talked to the new coach this morning, and he was pretty clear about guys and girls. He wants 50 kids to come out, whether it's guys or girls. Who doesn't matter. He wants 50 kids out there.
He needs people.
That's high. That you're not going to get 50 kids this year, but if you build something, there might be a time when 50 kids show up. And he kept saying, guys, girls, it doesn't matter. I want to take anybody. And I thought, who would, what girl would be great.
Right.
Is that?
I don't know if she'd be wanting to give up volleyball for football or not.
Well, she said it. She blames her mom. She says, "Mom won't let me." Yeah, mom's forcing me to play volleyball. I don't think that's the case, but as a teacher, I believe about 35% of what kids say.
Oh yeah. Well, she might got that from me too. There's things I don't want to do that her mom catches the blame for too. Yeah. So, right, that's marriage. Right?
That's exactly. She's the queen.
We got, wife said we got to go somewhere else on Friday. So, other things I got to do. Yeah. So I don't know if that's it or not, but
she's clearly the queen of the castle. My wife is the queen of my castle. Absolutely. She runs the show. I am very much a yes, ma'am. Whatever you need from me, yes, ma'am. But when she's not looking, boy, she takes the heat. She takes the heat for so much. That's right. So I want to talk about Osawatomie real quick. One more thing that I want to get from you. Actually, 2 things about the city, and then I'll let you go, because I know your time's precious. What memory do you have of Osawatomie that makes it feel like Sandlot? You remember the movie Sandlot, right?
Right. Yeah.
That feeling that you get when you watch that movie. What experiences or memories do you have of this town that kind of bring out your Sandlot moment?
I've seen that when you kind of give me a heads up, kind of what we're going to talk about. And I was trying to think of that. And I remember the days when, there was a guy, and he's since gone, but his name was Daryl Ashmore, and he would drive down our street and be like, "Hey, go to the ballpark. We're practicing ball today." We didn't have the fence and the big dog behind it and all of that, but, Hell, Shane used to call me the great Hambino, after watching that movie. So, instead of Bambino, since the Hampson, he called me Hambino. But Amy will still flip up and call me that from time to time from years ago. But, we had that type of community, and that's really what I want to get back to, where, you kind of know, you can't say everybody, and everybody looks out for everybody. But Osawatomie, I'm going to tell you, when I was growing up in the 80s, it was that way, man. You always had to watch what you were doing because somebody else was watching too,
Yeah.
and they weren't above calling mom and being like, hey, I seen this knucklehead doing this, and then you're in trouble. So, but
the community
that,
is looking out for each other.
yeah. And really, that's all it is. I mean, you explain that when you're the kid and you're the one getting ratted out on, man, you're upset. But as a parent, as an adult, whatever, you're like, look, the only reason I get on you is because I care about you, and I don't want you to get hurt,
Right.
And I made all the same dumb decisions, and some of them panned out, and some of them didn't. But
Right.
no, Osawatomie, and I feel like we can get there. We can get back to, I mean, times are different, obviously. Things have changed. People are more distracted. I mean, you've got the pace of life today is not what it was 30 years ago, so, but I think we can get close to that. And I think there are pockets of that in this community already that, do look out for each other, do watch out and help each other out. Osawatomie always amazes me when there's a crisis like the flood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like whatever we need, all hands on deck. I remember stacking sandbags in the middle of the night for that. And man, you look around and it's every different walk of life, and not just Osawatomie at that time. I mean, I remember people from Wellsville and Paola and all over here standing next to you, sandbagging the dikes, getting things best prepared as we could. I had never seen them gates out really at that point, so we're trying to learn what we're doing. But this part of the country will always be home for me because of that, the feel and the people.
There's some connectedness. There's some there's that family. Your family here, and I had a tree growing out the back end of my garage, and I had to get rid of it, and I don't have a chainsaw, so I used to have, a couple of guys that, grew up with my father-in-law. My father-in-law graduated 75, and, I had some of his old classmates that I used to be able to call and say, hey, I need help, changing out the garbage disposal, or I need, whatever. But they've since moved on. And I text Patty Hennis, and her husband Mark came out with a chainsaw and he helped me out. And then we went behind the power plant and dumped the brush. And that's the family, that family connectedness that I really, really appreciate about this town. I really do. All right. So I know you got to get going, and I really appreciate you spending time with me. I really can't thank you enough. And if you need anything from me, if you think that there's anything that I can do to kind of help in any which way possible, of course, I'll do whatever I can to help the community.
Yep. Hey, and I appreciate you, Dave. And this was a good deal. I think, I'm glad that we ran into each other and got to do it. And if I need anything from you, it'll probably be standing on that one that'll be in class next year, keeping her in line. She does a pretty good job of it, but
yeah, she'll
no, I do. I appreciate your spirit, man, and just your involvement in the kids and, just helping out here. So thank you for that too.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. All right, well, go have a great night and enjoy running this town.
All right, we'll see you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.